What husbands think when he's being turned down in the bedroom. What's up, Brave Hearts community? This is Sean Heineman here with another segment of A Scared to Marry, wanting you to love fearlessly. Now, let's talk about this real quick because there are two videos that I've done on this topic in defense of women. When I created those videos, they were more of as if I was talking to other men and extending his wife grace or trying to understand where she come from. And I'm going to talk about that a little later as well, as far as her maybe being mentally drained, physically drained, and all the things that come with being a woman and taking care of a family. So nobody, please come for me in this video. Now it's our turn. So let's be a little more mindful about what a man goes through when he's being turned down for sex from his wife. So let's talk about this. Let's go a little further because I'm very sensitive about this topic because it's a fine line, especially when you're talking about, in the Christian world and what the Bible says about that, about the two becoming one and, your body is no longer yours and things like that. But then there's people who don't believe in the Bible as well. So it could be a very sensitive topic because when you've grown up in the church, I can kind of see your viewpoint about this. So let's talk about this. There's an article in Psychology Today that was titled How Sexual Rejection Can Affect a Relationship. And I thought this paragraph right here was good. I want to read it real quick. It says, it's understandable that someone might not be in the mood for sex if they feel their partner is just looking for a physical release. But when I work with couples in therapy, I regularly see a shift that can happen when men are able to vocalize that their desire for sex isn't simply about release. Instead, they talk about wanting to connect with and feel close to their partner and receive validation of their desirability and worth. I thought that was really good because, and I think this maybe men that's a little more mature in age. You know how I feel about men shouldn't marry until 35 or older because I think that they're a little more mature. And I know there's people that always say, "Well, they still mature, ain't mature at 35." I'm just saying, in some cases, some guys start to mature around that age. They're a little more mindful in their approach. They're not as selfish, I would say. Now, what made me come up with this topic was because I did a Facebook poll, and when I talked about this topic, I had over 900 comments or almost around 900 comments that people responded, and of course, the ladies jumped in. And I was really talking to the husband, so the ladies had their take on it. I understand, even though I was talking to the husbands, but with men, we the sex that we receive from our wife is it's almost like sometimes validation, and I'm going to talk about that a little more in detail too. And it's the togetherness is kind of more of like accepting, right? Like men, we have testosterone flowing throughout our bodies, and I think sometimes we are demonized for having testosterone run through our bodies. Now, again, I'm not going to say that it's okay for a man to go cheat and do all these other things that's disrespectful to his wife. So let's throw it out the window. But I do want to talk about respecting a man and having testosterone and understanding his need and desire for sex, especially when it comes from his wife. Now, I will say back in the day when people married, marriage came along with sex, right? So a lot of times people were waiting for marriage to have sex. So when they did jump the broom, or when they did get married, they assume that okay, that sex is going to be there too. So nowadays we just live in a different day where people just they just have sex because they just want to have sex. And it's almost sometimes where when you marry, sex is sometimes just optional. It's like, I might not want to have it, might want to have it. It just depends. So that's the dynamic that we're dealing with today, where back in the day, marriage equated sex. They went together. Now, when I was talking to the men on Facebook about this, I asked the men what did they think initially when their wife turned them down. And the word that I used too was consistently, like if she's consistently telling him no. So this isn't like a one and done thing. She said no, and he just went and slept with somebody else. I'm not saying that. I'm saying like this was something that was happening on a consistent basis where she was saying no. I will say a tip that can help wives too is instead of just saying no, saying maybe not tonight. I know a lot of people don't like scheduling sex, but if that's going to work for you on your marriage, then schedule sex. You give him something to look forward to. Wives, you know what you got to do that night. So you're preparing for that day when y'all have a mutual agreement. So I'm not so far removed from scheduling sex. You have to do what works best for you. Here's what men think initially when they are being turned down by their wives for sex. The first one is she still attracted to me? That's the first thing that men think. Is she still attracted to me? And with men, we take sex personal, especially from our wives, that we getting that rejection. It's just like, well, damn, do I still got it? Now, I will say to guys, make sure that you take care of yourself. The sex is better when you're in the gym and you're taking care of your health and you have a little more stamina and you're getting more blood flow. I kind of talked about that before in another video. So number one, is she still attracted to me? First thing that a man thinks. Number two, and this is their initial thoughts. Number two, is she cheating? This is what husbands think because she's saying no on a regular basis. And he's just like, well, what's up with us? Like, so is there somebody else involved? And that's where a lot of times the insecurities can come in because she might not be cheating, but you got to have the conversation. If you're not talking about this is just something that he might assume. Uh, because even statistically, I did a video about talking about sex in another video. Statistically, wives who do cheat, they're not going to tell their husbands because they are afraid of the repercussions that come behind it. So there are wives that will step out too, but at least give your husband the communication to talk, saying that no, I'm not cheating. I'm just tired. I've had a long day today at work, or I'm just not feeling it tonight. So you got to have the conversation so that way he isn't thinking something and then he does something that's out of character. Number three, what men think initially is don't be mad if I get it from somewhere else. I'm not saying again that it's okay, but at the same time, men thinking I can't get it from anywhere else, I can't get it from my spouse. Like, what am I supposed to do? And I understand that women are wired to think that if you're not busting it wide open for him, he's gonna get it from somewhere else. And there's some truth to that. That isn't all men, but it's an unhealthy scare tactic to have wives thinking that if you don't have sex with him, this past week or two or whatever, then he's going to go and sleep with someone else. So that's not healthy in this approach, but it can happen because some guys lack self-control. And I talk about self-control in other videos that I've done as far as change start with us as men. We got to understand self-control because we always taught to have sex with a lot of women before we get married to get it out of our system. And then when we get married, like we just supposed to turn it off. We're supposed to turn off the testosterone, right? After we done slept with 100 women, we just supposed to turn it off and be satisfied with this one woman. You see the thinking? So I want to end it with this too. And like I said, I was going to address this. There were some husbands and they were a little more mature, right? I don't know exactly how old they were, but they were a little more mature. And they were saying that before I have these thoughts in my head, let's have the conversation. Let's have this talk. So that way I understand where we stand in our marriage. So I'm not all over the place mentally thinking when you're at work, you're sleeping with somebody else, right? So that comes with maturity. So have the conversation with your husband, ladies. Husbands, at the same time, I understand how frustrating it can be. You're not just going to have sex every single time you want it with your wife. So there's sometimes you got to extend that grace to her and then have sex as much as you can, though. I understand you might have small kids and stuff like that, but you got to be creative in your approach. And when you're a little more creative in your approach, then both of you can be satisfied and having a longer lasting marriage. So let me know your experience. Leave a comment below. I would love to hear from you. Share this video with a husband, share this video with a wife. I also have other videos on this topic as well, because I'm very passionate about us bringing healthy marriages back. I think marriage has almost kind of took a back seat to this world that we live in today. Also, leave a rating and review on Apple Podcasts if you're listening to this via audio. I would love to hear what you have to say. This is Sean Heineman here at A Scared to Remarry, wanting you to love fearlessly. Take care, people.